Am I the jerk for deleting my friends' wedding photos in front of them? I'm not really a photographer, I'm a dog groomer. I take lots of photos of dogs all day to put on my Facebook and Instagram. It's my thing, if that makes sense. A cut and a photo with every appointment. I very seldom shoot things other than dogs, even if I have a nice setup. A friend got married a few days ago and, wanting to save money, asked if I'd shoot it for them. I told him it's not really my forte, but he convinced me by saying he didn't care if they were perfect. They were on a shoestring budget and I agreed to shoot it for $250, which is nothing for a 10-hour event. On the day of, I'm driving around following the bride as she goes from appointment to appointment before the ceremony, taking photos along the way. I shoot the ceremony itself, and during the reception I'm shooting speeches and people mingling. I started around 11 a.m. and was due to finish here around 7:30 p.m. Around 5 p.m. food was being served and I was told I cannot stop to eat because I need to be the photographer. In fact, they didn't save me a spot at any table. I'm getting tired and at this point kinda regretting doing this for next to nothing. It's also unbelievably hot. The venue is in an old Veterans Legion and it's like 110 F and there's no AC. I told the groom I need to take off for 20 minutes to get something to eat and drink. There's no open bar or anything. I can't even get water and my 2 water bottles are long empty. He tells me I need to either be a photographer or leave without pay. With the heat, being hungry, being generally annoyed at the circumstances, I asked if he was sure, and he said yes, so I deleted all the photos I took in front of him and took off saying I'm not his photographer anymore. If I was to be paid $250, honestly at that point I would have paid $250 just for a glass of cold water and somewhere to sit for 5 minutes. Was I the jerk? They went right on their honeymoon and they've all been off of social media, but a lot of people have been posting on their wall asking about photos with 0 responses. They wanted mates rates but didn't even save you food? Not the jerk. The dogs are much better people than these friends. Not the jerk, who refuses to allow someone water or food. Am I the jerk for speaking Italian to my girlfriend's rude Italian-American family and embarrassing them? Backstory: due to my dad's job we lived in Italy for 3 years when I was younger, so I speak Italian almost fluently. It's been a while, so I've lost some of it. Recently I started dating a girl. She's great and I love her so much. I met her family a few nights ago for dinner. She warned me that the male side of her family is very big into being macho, in toasting the boys the women date, and are very big on taking pride in their Italian ancestry. I think besides the grandfather, however, they were almost all born in Bergen County, New Jersey, but whatever, it's nice to take pride in one's heritage. Long story short, at dinner they kept making jokes at my expense. I honestly would not call it bullying, just things about my height, beard, shaved head. They tried making fun of my IT job too but stopped once I told them my income. It was overall not a bad experience, but a not so pleasant one. Anyways, her older brother kept pushing things, giving me exceptional amounts of shit for playing lacrosse in high school. Apparently it's a sport for prissy rich kids and not manly like football or baseball. He ended his rant by saying, "Hey, we're just a big Italian family, we're loud and tell it how we see it. Ha ha ha." And all the family except my girlfriend laughed. So I, for the next minute, responded to everything they said in Italian. My girlfriend buried her head in shame, the grandfather laughed and everyone else kept looking at each other confused before telling me they didn't speak Italian. I replied, "Then don't use your Italian heritage as an excuse to behave poorly when you can't even speak the language." They got mad, but the grandfather told them all I was right and to be quiet. My girlfriend isn't mad, just ashamed. I think the grandfather likes me, but word from my girlfriend's sister is that all the men are furious, think I'm a smartass and that I disrespected them and their masculinity in an unforgivable way. So am I the jerk? Edited to add, there may have been some confusion as to my girlfriend's reaction. She was ashamed her family dug so deep into me, not about my response. After wanting to die for the next 48 hours she agreed I did the right thing and that it was funny. LOL, not the jerk. The granddad knows it. He probably half rolls his eyes every time they say they are Italian when he knows he's the last speaker. You shut them down in the most epic and appropriate way possible. Your girlfriend should be proud flaunting that her boyfriend is more Italian than any of them. Not the jerk. It sounds like the boys were hoping to put you through a hazing ritual and you weren't biting and put them in their place. And Grandpa approved. Am I the jerk for shouting at my ex in front of my daughters? I, 37 male, have 3 girls 8, 10, and 12. Their mother walked out on us for another man, when our youngest was around 4. My ex still stays in contact, though, and pays child support. A few weeks ago while doing laundry, I saw red spots on my oldest's underwear. I asked her if she knew about it, and she cried and told me she tried to call her mum, but my ex didn't call back. She'd been stuffing toilet paper in her underwear, hoping that would work. I explained to her that periods are nothing to be ashamed of, and found some great resources online for us to review together. I took her to the store to pick out brands of feminine products she wanted to use. She picked Playtex Sport because she's a gymnast. After we were done, I decided I should do the same thing with my other two. My 12-year-old volunteered to be part of preparing them, and we made a whole night of it. It was wonderful, and I learned a lot. I even learned what a menstrual cup is, and how they benefit the environment. The other day, my ex called back. I'll usually arrange a video chat and leave the room so they can have some alone time, and when they're done chatting, I'll come back in, to talk boring co-parenting stuff like school, bills, etc. This last time, my ex was furious with me for talking about periods with the girls. She shouted at me that I was sick and perverted. Why didn't I call her myself if I knew it was so urgent? I could have called one of their grandmas, aunts, but my mum has dementia, while her mum and sisters call me a loser because I teach kindergarten, so I'm not fond of them. My ex told me I was being immature and should have just toughed it out for the girls. This really pissed me off, so I shouted back that maybe if she wasn't such a deadbeat and answered her goddamn phone once in a while, she could have handled this. I brought up everything she does that hurts them. She hasn't been to a single soccer game, piano recital, or gymnastics meet in 2 years. Every other weekend when they come home from her house, they go straight to their rooms, only to emerge hours later asking me why she loves her new husband more than them, and what did they do to make her leave. My ex responded by saying I should tell them it's not their fault I couldn't satisfy her, and I screamed, "Screw you," and she just smirked and pointed behind me, saying, "Look what you did." When I turned around, my 8-year-old and 10-year-old were standing in the doorway crying. It broke my heart. I never shout, so I know I scared them. My 12-year-old stormed in and started screaming at her mum, and while I appreciate her sticking up for me, this is not a battle I want her fighting. My ex hung up before I could fully de-escalate the situation, and let's just say the girls have been given free reign of the ice cream and limitless hours of video games, because I feel so bad. I even watched all the Twilight movies with them, so don't say I don't love them. But in this instance, am I the jerk for shouting? Not the jerk. Have you considered they were crying because of how you were treated rather than the fact you lost your temper? It's easy to assume the worst. Children are more observant than we give them credit for. That your daughter defended you right away pretty much makes it impossible to consider you a jerk. Looking at it from a pure logic standpoint, isn't it better they learn not to expect anything from their mum early in life? Certainly, you shouldn't have lost your temper in front of children, but no one is perfect, especially when someone is calling you perverted for being a great single dad. You also had no idea they were there listening so closely. Honestly, you are way too hard on yourself to even think you needed to post here. Keep on being a great dad. OP's response: This has given me a lot to think about, and it pretty much sums up what my 12-year-old has been saying. The younger two just say they wish their mum would come back and we could all be a family again. It's killing me. Another commentator replies to OP: Here's the thing though, you're having to be super dad because a mom left. Of course they wish things could be normal again. I'm sure you wish the same thing. An honest conversation might need to happen again, to let them voice how they feel together and see that you understand and wish things were different too. You're being an awesome parent trying to be there and make sure they feel loved. Please don't stop being an amazing parent. Would I be the jerk for evicting my roommate because she wouldn't pay my vet bills? I, 33 female, live with my friend Rouse, 30. It's my home, but Rose pays me rent $250 a month. Rose had multiple plants and had them up on our back porch. My cat goes out to the back porch as it is screened in, and consumed some of these flowers and gotten very sick. Turns out one of the plants were lilies, which are toxic to cats. I took her to the vet immediately and they told me if I hadn't she probably would have died. I kindly asked Rose if she would pay for my cat's vet bills since her flowers caused this, in which she became super offended and refused, saying it wasn't her fault because she didn't know, and that this was an accident. I agreed that it was an accident and that there weren't any hard feelings, but this was still an accident caused by her, and that even if we could split the bill. She again refused and said she wouldn't pay a dime. It was an accident and my cat. I basically told her if she didn't at least split the bill with me she would have to find somewhere else to live. This caused a huge argument and she said that is completely unfair because she has nowhere to go, and that it was an accident. I don't think it's unreasonable. I even agreed to split it. OP, she's a paying tenant and deserves to use some of the space she pays for. It's not her job to make sure every plant she gets is cat safe. That's your responsibility as the pet owner. Going forward, you need to figure out which plants are toxic to your cat and work with your tenant to make them inaccessible to your cat. You're the jerk. I don't know, guys. As a cat owner, for $250 in this economy, if someone said, "How you can live here, just make sure you're mindful of the cat." That would include plants I brought into the house, foods I left out, etc. In this case, I would say it's the renter's job to fit into the owner's lifestyle, which is needing to be careful of what they bring in and leave out. Am I the jerk for my response to my sister's boyfriend's brutal honesty? My, female 35, sister, female 27, started dating one of those brutally honest guys a few months ago. He can be quite rude and make backhanded comments about me and the family sometimes, which is bothersome, but my sister says he's not malicious, but is just the brutally honest time and we should get used to it. I visited my parents' house to celebrate my sister's birthday and my husband couldn't come with me because he was busy. After the party we all sat down for dinner and my sister's boyfriend said, "It was weird that my husband and I don't have kids, despite being married for 6 years now." I was shocked that he brought this up, but I gave a short answer stating that it's because of infertility issues. He asked on which side and I didn't want to answer, but my sister said it's on my side. I got uncomfortable, as he looked at me for a second and said that maybe not having kids now is a good thing, because he thought women over 30 might produce defective babies due to age. I told him it was none of his business, but he said that he was just giving his honest opinion and that's all. I, in return, told him while maintaining eye contact, "Trust me, if I wanted a jerk's opinion, I would have farted." Literally everyone at the table bursted into laughter and my sister and her boyfriend were stunned. A few seconds later her boyfriend excused himself out and my sister followed, then sent me a text after they left saying I was mean and disrespectful towards her boyfriend and insulted him maliciously just cause he stated his honest opinion. She also said I ruined her birthday by being petty and making her boyfriend the joke of the night in front of the family. I didn't respond, but she demanded an apology via mail as soon as possible. Mum agreed that I shouldn't have said what I said, and should have just ignored him, knowing how he is. I think I'm the jerk, but I'm not sure. Not the jerk, but sister is also the jerk for volunteering OP's private medical information when boyfriend so rudely asked the intrusive, "Whose side?" question. OP's response: "Hi. I agree fully, because she has already seen how uncomfortable I was, but she decided to not only let her boyfriend continue, but also provided medical details that I never wanted to share with him of all people." Another commentator replies to OP: "I think you should write her that email she wants, but," detailing why his interrogation was rude and intrusive, "how hurtful and appalling it is that your sister offered up more information you clearly were not comfortable sharing. How out of line it was to do all of this in a public setting, and finally that you are being brutally honest and not malicious, so he should just get used to it, and request an email apology for them crossing the line with you." Am I the jerk for firing my bridesmaid for disclosing her diagnosis at my bachelorette? I'm getting married in 3 weeks, and I just had my bachelorette over Easter weekend. During a quiet moment, one of my bridesmaids took me aside and told me that about 3 months ago she was diagnosed with fetal alcohol syndrome. Obviously I asked her what that meant for her and she started crying because she feels differently about her relationship with her mother. We met in elementary school and she's always had a learning disability, but she didn't know that there was a preventable cause. My other bridesmaids noticed her crying, and the evening ended up being about her. We skipped out on going to a bar in the limo I had hired because she was upset. I thought about it all today and ended up emailing her to tell her that she took away an important moment from my life. I feel bad about this happening to her, but even though she didn't always know, it's been going on for her whole life. If this was a recent thing she found out about or it was some kind of deadly disease, I would feel differently. But she was sitting on this for months before bringing it up at an event that was supposed to be special to me. You only get one bachelorette and mine was totally overshadowed. I felt really hurt that she did that, and told her that I didn't want to have her in my wedding if that's how she's going to treat me at a time where the focus was supposed to be something good in my life instead of something sad in hers. She could have waited a few more weeks until after the wedding if she wanted to have this conversation. She's still invited to the wedding, but I don't want her to be a bridesmaid after this. I was just texting my cousin, my maid of honor, and she disagreed with me doing this. She said that it sucked that we didn't go to the bar, but this other friend has already paid for her dress, so I should just let her stay. My fiancé supports my choice, but I wanted another opinion. Am I the jerk? Everyone sucks here, I get it. She found out months ago and waited until that night to say anything, took the attention, and you lost out on the money you paid. It was completely understandable to be hurt and frustrated, but you didn't need to cut her from the wedding. That was retaliation, pure and simple. You could have called her and opened up the door to have an honest conversation about how you felt and allow her to respond. This would have shown compassion and grace. Instead, you made a decisive decision because your feelings were hurt. It is your wedding, but she is also a close enough friend where you asked her to be a bridesmaid, and she deserved that conversation before you decided to push her out. I would absolutely apologize to her and realize that in this case you've both been crappy to each other. Not the jerk. She knew for 3 crapping months. She knew what she was doing. Update from OP. For those wondering, I had actually seen her on 2 occasions since her diagnosis, including getting coffee one-on-one a week after it happened, where she could have told me. It was the fact that she waited until my event to tell me and then derailed it that had me so upset. I hadn't considered the fact that everyone pre-drinking might have set her off. After reading a bunch of comments here, I called her. I asked why she hadn't told me before, and she said she was still trying to process when I had previously seen her. She didn't realize she was going to cry so much and distract everyone and ruin the mood. She said she felt really horrible about doing that and that she hadn't meant to ruin the evening. I apologized for acting on my own hurt feelings and asked if she'd be willing to consider still being a bridesmaid. She said she really wanted to still be in the wedding. I don't have the budget to have another bachelorette party, but I realized that I was only making that loss worse by hurting an old friend in addition to losing out on an event. I was definitely attributing her behavior to malice when it was actually bad timing. Back in high school, she did a similar thing to me because she was jealous of the attention I was getting as part of a competitive choir, but she's grown up since then. We're 23 and 24 now. I overreacted, and I honestly appreciate the tough love from this sub. It made me reconsider what I was doing and probably just saved a friendship.